Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, good. Is there, okay.
Welcome to Decoding TV's coverage of the Rehearsal Season 2, Episode 5. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about this episode, but really, we're going to spend most of the time probably dedicated to this story that was published at Variety.com entitled Nathan Fielder Created a Fake Singing Competition for the Rehearsal. One contestant lost $10,000 and feels betrayed. I signed up to be a singer, not a lab rat. Kind of a bummer, Patrick Klepek, because this story was published probably minutes after we finished recording our podcast last week. So that sucked. But now we're reacting to it. Okay. Throughout this season, I have speculated a lot about like what do these contestants know about what's actually going on here? Like, how much do people actually know about what's happening? How much do they know about Nathan Fielder's involvement and so forth? And we seem to have an answer. The answer to that question is not much. How much of what we see on screen is like reflective of reality? How much are people being tricked? I'm going to read here from this Variety story. I'm not going to read the whole story because it's very long, but I did pull a bunch of excerpts from the story. So this story is about a woman named Lana Love, who we see, or Lana, I'm not sure. Anyway, Lana Love. Anyway, we see her in the pop punk group during the Amazing Grace montage a couple episodes back. I'll just call her Lana for now because I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce her name. But when Lana Love received an email from her old performing arts school about casting for a new HBO singing competition, she jumped at the opportunity. The New York-based singer-songwriter had previously been a contestant on The Voice and had an album in the chamber. So she thought the series, dubbed Wings of Voice, could be the perfect launchpad for her musical career. The winner of the show was promised a chance to perform with a Grammy-winning artist, but Love viewed the exposure of being on an HBO series as the real prize. Love flew from her home in New York to Los Angeles 3 times on her own dime for separate auditions and tapings of Wings of Voice, which was filmed on an HBO soundstage in Hollywood. She waited in line with more than 1,000 aspiring singers, performed for judges, and made it to the top 50. But one day before her final taping, Love made a shocking discovery. It was all fake. Wings of Voice was not a real singing competition. The show was an elaborate stunt devised by comedic mastermind Nathan Fielder, orchestrated solely for the purpose of making a tangential point in his social experiment series on HBO, The Rehearsal. I signed up to be a singer, not a lab rat, Love says. Many of the contestants are just now finding out that they were essentially extras in an elaborate bit. Love says she spent $5,500 on travel, lodging, and hair and makeup across her 3 trips to LA, and as a vocal teacher in New York, she lost out on nearly $4,000 in canceled lessons. End quote. Patrick Klepek, these people were clearly deceived. You know, like they thought this was a real show. They didn't know this was going to be an elaborate bit on another show. Many of them didn't even know about Nathan Fielder's involvement, right? So it's not like they could look up like, oh, Nathan Fielder, he's a goofball. This is going to be a joke. It was presented for real as like a real show. What's your reaction?
Like really underscores like many of my misgivings about like the rehearsal as a concept and some of the issues I had with the first season, which very funny that in this episode there's at least like a comment made about the reaction to the first season, myself included. It's like the travel stuff, like spending money, like that bugs me, especially when juxtaposed against a television show in which clearly one of Nathan Fielder's favorite personal bits is to be like look what they're letting me do.
Yeah,
like,
they've given me basically unlimited money for this.
They've given me unlimited money to like do all this ridiculous stuff. And the fact, like the idea that you would knowingly invite someone like cross country, like paying out of like, and maybe you paying for it would like that would make it the illusion. I don't know, but like that doesn't feel good. Like you're knowingly inviting somebody to come back out, spending their own money for something that cannot actually achieve what they are thinking it might achieve. And that alongside, when they had the bits with the reality competition, where like, the one girl got upset as she left, and it's like, okay, she's older than the young kids that were in season 1, but it's like, it makes me uncomfortable that like younger people are coming.
Yeah, many of them look like teenagers.
Like
teenagers,
yeah, like being brought in. Their emotional reaction is then on camera, and yes, I guess in theory they probably signed a release that's like you are being filmed.
Yeah,
this could be used in a production, but like you didn't consent to this introduction. And I don't think Fielder goes out of his way to humiliate those girls, but it's still, that's not the context.
They are the butt of the joke. They are the butt of the joke.
They are the butt of the joke. And so, yeah, it makes me like, I'm okay with the, like, people like adult ages, like, being deceived on a bit. I can live with that. And like that doesn't bother me too much. But it's when younger people are involved, and specifically not reimbursing people for like travel, like just do it locally. Like someone that loses a day because they live in LA and have to drive is much lower stakes than someone flying to New York.
Absolutely. Now, to be fair, I don't know that we know that any kid, like maybe everyone was 18 and over, right? Like that seems very plausible. So it's not like there's any like actual minors involved. But I would agree with you. There's a lot of teenagers, like young people. People whose brains are not yet finished forming, for sure, who are used as part of this ruse. The idea, by the way, is that Lana Love, the person who is the subject of this variety piece, kind of realizes that she starts like Googling the people who are like involved in the production and realizes they've all worked for Nathan Fielder. And then she looks up Nathan Fielder and is like, wait a second, this isn't a real show at all. Another contestant recognized the Alligator Lounge in the airport and saw it was in the first season of The Rehearsal. Enraged, I'm reading here from the article, Love drafted a letter to the production team. We understand this is a staged fake reality TV show, and we're aware that Nathan Fielder is the director. It reads in part, we didn't sign up to be the punchline of a joke. Had I known the true nature of this project, I wouldn't have participated. Love went on to write that the show feels like false advertising. She began telling the other contestants the truth. Patrick, listen to this. This part I thought was very telling. She told the fellow contestants that she wrote a letter and was planning to shut this thing down. One of the girls began crying and begged her not to send it. Love remembers the girl saying, I don't care if the show is fake. I still want to do it. It could still be my big break. I thought to myself, you can't expose the show. You can't take away someone else's dream. You'll save your peace for another day. And that's why we're sitting here today, meaning Lana and the journalist who's writing this piece. Many of the contestants, now knowing the show is fake, still viewed it as an opportunity to sing in front of a camera. Maybe being the butt of a joke is better than not being included in the joke at all, end quote. I have a few reactions to this. First of all, I think that a lot of people's reaction to this is going to be, you signed up to be on a show called Wings of Voice, an aviation-themed reality competition. You deserve any humiliation you get. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. But the one thing I want people to understand is like, a lot of these shows that are now like established franchises, they probably started with similarly silly sounding premises. And you don't know that the show is going to be big until later, right? Like, Love
Look
is
at
Blind.
some of the reality shows that exist right now, and tell me that a singing a singing show competition show with aviation judges falls outside the bounds of if you scroll through Netflix or just Warner Brothers Discovery. Go on HBO Max right now and look through their reality shows and tell me those are less silly than what Fielder is pitching.
It is completely within a standard deviation of like a regular reality show. So I just want to make that clear. Now, you as a listener or viewer may look down on the reality show template in general, and that's fine. But I'm just saying, like, there's nothing about Wings of Voice that is like beyond the scope of a typical reality show. I just want to make sure that is understood. And the other thing that I want to impress on people is like, yes, it sounds desperate. Like these people sound desperate. Like, hey, this could still be my bigger. I want to be on the Wings of Voice, and it sounds desperate. But like, there's so many stories of like some random producer saw the person getting gas at the station, and then it's like, I gotta hire that person to be in the movie, and like that's that person's big break, right? And ultimately, that's the nature of fame and success in our society. Is like, you need to maximize your exposure to possibly get famous. Again, if you look down on the whole enterprise, I understand, like, but then nothing is really going to change your opinion,
right?
I have a lot of empathy for these people because, to me, it sounds reasonable. It's like, hey, like you're going to be on a TV show seen by millions of people, right? That's a fact. And so that's better than not being seen by millions. Even if you're the butt of a joke, it's like maybe some person making an independent film is like, hey, I like the look of that person in the pop funk Amazing Grace section. And decides to hire you for their movie. It's like that is entirely within the realm of possibility. And so I have a lot of sympathy for these people, and I think like they're actually reasonably like to some degree outraged and or like to some degree like they still want to be on the show even though they know they're the butt of the joke, and like that to me feels reasonable. But at the end of the day, there is a tweet post from Avery Edison that I thought was very good at summarizing the situation. I'm going to read from it here. Quote, every week, Nathan Fielder and his team give us images we've never seen before, frighteningly original set pieces and surreal tableaus. And they're funny too. And the only price we have to pay is that some strange people who are desperate to be on TV get a little embarrassed, end quote. And that is the devil's bargain we make with Nathan Fielder, is like a lot of these people who are on the show, on a fundamental level, they want to be on TV. They want to be famous. They know they're going to be filmed. They know they're trying to maximize their exposure. And so if you're okay with those people being humiliated, you're going to have no issue with anything Nathan Fielder does. But if you think people trying out for a show on Wings of Voice, even those people deserve some dignity, then I think you will find the events of the rehearsal very troubling. So it really comes down to the eye of the beholder, you know, Patrick? Anyway.
Such is life.
Such is life. So I just wanted to like acknowledge that this is something that's going on in the world of Nathan Fielder. And I feel bad for Lana Love. And like a huge part of me feels sympathy for Lana Love. And then a part of me is like, but you signed up to be on a show called Wings of Voice. You know, like these are the two wolves battling inside me.
It's like the version of that was that the is the tweet from one of the cable executives about Trump. It was like this is terrible for the country, but this is tremendous content.
But it's tremendous content. It's tremendous content. In the Rehearsal Season 2, Episode 5, Nathan Fielder leverages his position as a thought leader in the autistic community to try to get in front of Congressman Steve Cohen, who's a ranking member of the Aviation Subcommittee and who has the power to put Fielder in front of that committee. The episode culminates with Fielder presenting his case to Cohen, but Cohen seems unmoved by Fielder's presentation. So that's kind of what happens in this episode. Patrick, I thought the element of Nathan Fielder and autism I thought was very interesting because I think we are meant to perceive that he doesn't think of himself as autistic and doesn't want to think of himself as autistic. And there's multiple segments of the show that attest to this. Like when he's doing the facial eye analysis and he's just like trying to change the subject and the woman keeps pressing him like, but which one do you think it is? And he's like, oh yeah, I get it. You know, oh, I see. Some people have difficulty with it. You know, that's very funny. And then later on in the episode when he's like, and I didn't need to practice at all. I didn't need to practice at all, you know? So I thought that was kind of amusing, although like, it almost makes it seem like being autistic is like a bad thing, which that part I was a little uncomfortable with. Like Fielder's tone towards the whole thing when like many people see Fielder's work as capturing the autistic experience in many fundamental ways. So anyway, it's all pretty interesting because he's never in many years of making television and stuff, he has never addressed it, right? He has never acknowledged that he might be autistic. And so it's just fascinating. Now that he's finally addressing it, he's doing it in a very like standoffish way, like at arm's length, and this doesn't impact me. But he's trying to make it humorous. Interesting approach. So,
yeah, I thought this was the worst episode of the Rehearsal so far. Wow. I didn't find it that funny. Didn't find it that interesting. And actually, part of his whole conceit, like culminating in the meeting with the congressman, like. I don't like it didn't like you tell me like you couldn't be more like am I watching Nathan Fielder not be prepared? Like,
right.
If you think this is actually
if he really was
actually dangerous.
Yeah.
And it does appear like over the course of this, like as I mentioned in the last episode, like I think he is a good reporter. He is a good eye. Like what is the point of this? Like the idea that you go in and then start reading off of a piece of paper. Are you doing that because Nathan Fielder, the person,
right.
like turns out like he can't like remove himself from Nathan Fielder, the character, and like what he's done over the rehearsal. It turns out he does need to practice in the way that anyone has to practice before like a big presentation or something that they're doing. Like I didn't find any of that. Like in many ways, like, yeah, Nathan Fielder, you found you found a bullshitter. It's called someone from Congress. Like like the reason he's like dismissive is like, one, your presentation sucked. Like it wasn't convincing, or at least the way it's presented in the show is like, I don't know how I'm supposed to take you or what you're doing seriously based on the way you presented this information. And so maybe this congressman maybe he sucks, like a lot of them suck, but also like, I don't think you did your job here. And even all the stuff with like the fake congressional hearings and like hearing him do the masturbation jokes, very funny. But like that moment when like he turns around, is everyone like laughs a little too hard? Like, I can't tell what I'm watching here, but like not in like a fun, I can't tell what I'm watching. Like, did you just tell everyone off screen, like, hey, this is the written part of the show where like we need everyone to laugh a little too hard. So I like part of like the illusion, like what makes the rehearsal work is like the illusion holding, or you questioning the illusion. Like at many points throughout this, the humor / seriousness of it didn't line up for me like very well, and culminating in the end of the congressional meeting, it's like, okay, well, we'll see what happens at the end. Maybe this is all like the quintessential, hey, penultimate episodes are hard, like leading up to where you're actually going. And this is just a case of that and a very strange premise of a show. But I found myself like disappointed in sort of like Fielder, and then also just sort of, I just don't think there was much interest other than the acknowledging sort of the response to the first season involving children, and then his relationship with, or lack thereof, with autism, I thought was honestly more fascinating material than anything that actually happens with forwarding the aviation safety narrative along.
I agree. I was very disappointed with the way it ended, because now maybe we're going to find out he figured out another way to do it. Like,
yes.
Anyway, he figured out another way to get his stuff taken seriously anyway, and that will like cast this episode in a whole new light. But if he is trying to be taken seriously, if he is trying to effect real change, then having a poorly prepared presentation was not the way to do it. And then it's like, well, why did you not prepare? Was it because you thought it'd be funny to not prepare? And if so, then you let that override your desire to actually create actual change. So it's very strange. I'm hoping the next episode will recontextualize this episode and make it make sense.
It ends on such an abrupt note that, even though I knew the episode was, all these episodes are, 30-ish minutes long, but like it ended in a way I was like, oh, huh. That felt kind of cliffhangery in a way that, I'm trying to, like, I'm harsh on this episode, but like reserve the right. We're like, oh, okay, if this was actually seen as part one of a 2-part finale, maybe this all makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. So I think we'll really need to wait till next episode to decide whether or not this all made sense. So anyway, I do just want to give a shout out to Steve Cohen and say that, like, you really get a sense of what the life of a congressperson is in this episode, where it's like people of all kinds of random things they want coming to you all the time, and you need to kind of you can't make them feel dismissed, but you don't necessarily want to. You want to be non-committal. You want to like not promise them anything. And so, I thought it was a nice exercise in deflection. That being said, everyone who's watching this know exactly what he was saying. So, hey everyone, David Chen here. Thank you so much for watching that video from Decoding TV. If you want to get an audio version of the show, all you got to do is go to podcast.decodingtv.com. And if you want to support what we do, get ad-free episodes of the podcast and also bonus episodes of the podcast, go to decodingtv.com and become a paid member. Of course, you can also like and subscribe for more. We appreciate it. Thanks. See you later.